Don't Give Up Your Day Job, a local musician's guide. By me, Paul Gillings. An educational and sometimes humorous look at what it's like to be part of the local music scene. Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Don't Give Up Your Day Job, local musician's guide. Now, I'm always fascinated by... I'm fascinated by any local music scene and all the facets that it has. But one particular one I like is when you stumble across something you weren't really expecting. Like that time when Danny R and I were playing a gig for the TUC in a church in the middle of Lowestoft. And we start hearing an incredible, insanely good jazz guitarist and jazz singer duo, husband and wife duo. And we get talking afterwards, and it turns out that the chap was a producer for the BBC, that he's travelled the world playing on cruise ships. Oh, and he drops into the conversation, I used to teach guitar to a chap you might have heard of, a little ginger-haired fella from Suffolk. Well, it wasn't me he was talking about. He was talking about Ed Sheeran. I've got Mr. Keith Krykant in my podcast room. Hello, Keith.
Hi, Paul. Hi.
Thanks for coming over, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, just been on holiday. So another cruise, funnily enough, but not working this time.
Not working this time. A holiday cruise, not an actual
proper
one.
Holiday.
Oh, that'll explain the tan and why I'm so incredibly jealous.
And some great musicians on the ship.
Was there, mate? Were you judging, or were you just loving it?
Wow, there was a jazz drummer from Chile, the trio from Chile.
Right.
And that drummer, just one of the best I've ever seen.
Really? And I guess you've seen a fair few on your travels around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and going to to concerts. But there's some seriously good musicians out there that there really are, and some really nice blokes as well.
Yeah, really nice dudes. Do you get talking to them afterwards?
Yeah.
And I'm a musician as well, don't you know?
Yeah, I mean you don't want to sort of pester or get
for
in
sure.
the way,
Yeah, they've got to have a break, haven't they?
But I met some musicians. This is a funny story because there we were in Scandinavia, and I'd got a shirt on.
I would hope so. You're going naked in Scandinavia, mate. It's bloody freezing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I walked by these guys that had been performing the night before, and we just sort of said, "Great set, enjoyed your music." And they turned around, and one of them said, he said, "I like your shirt." He said, "Where'd you get that from?" I said, "From Norwich, actually." He said, "From Norwich? Oh, the guitar player, he's from Norwich." So there we were in Scandinavia, and the guitar player was from Norwich.
We always find people that we know in these things. We really do. The closest I got when I went to Benidorm was I met a girl from Blackpool, but that's a different story. Probably not for this particular podcast. But Keith, you talk about the cruise ships because you actually have played on cruise ships. So you're a jazz guitarist.
Yeah.
And with you and your wife at the moment, you're doing a jazz duo because you were telling me about a Christian album you've got out at the moment with her called New Beginnings.
My wife, she goes to St Peter's Church in Carlton Colville, and with lockdown, they started to have services online.
Okay.
But the guy that was doing it, he was playing, just picking music, and he got into some trouble for, copyright.
Oh God.
So he knew that Sally, had performed, and they got talking, and so Sally decided to, write a couple of tunes. So she did one, and a thing in 3/4, sort of a waltz sort of time. Steady sort of
so
pace.
So is your wife, is she a music? Oh, so she's a singer, but she doesn't play the keyboard or anything like that?
No, she just wrote the songs in her head, really.
What, just melody and words?
Really nicely structured.
Wow.
Yeah, the whole thing, without
incredible.
picking up an instrument.
You see, as a musician, I find that really difficult to even, conceptualise that I would write a song with no instrument.
Yeah.
Wow, that takes some visualisation.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, because if you're writing a song, I mean, I can't sing. So when I've tried to write songs in the past, pick up an acoustic guitar, and I can't get the melody because I can't sing.
But you know how the melody should be because you can play melodic lines on your guitar, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just can't sing.
But she wrote these completely out of her head, right?
Well, yeah, she. We've been married for just 48 years. We've been married a couple of weeks ago.
I'm 46, so when I was 2 years old, there you were.
That's right. But when we started to do some cruise work, which was great, really high quality stuff with Holland America, a few years ago now. But you need a lot of material to do a cruise. Right, because we were talking about that on the coffee run, weren't we? We were talking about what it takes to do cruise lines. Because I have very limited experience on doing cruise ships. My band as a child. Now you were telling me it's quite.
I mean, it's quite heavy work, isn't it? You know,
Yeah, it is.
You're there to work. So what's the kind of schedule you keep on those cruise ships?
Well, we did 5 hours every night, 7 nights a week.
Jesus.
But
I work 8 to 10 hours a day. Making magazines. If I had, mind you, I've had to play harmonica for 5 hours a night. I think I could do that. I'd enjoy that.
Well, you get breaks in between.
Sure.
And of course, you go to see the show and you have your dinner. And after dinner, at about midnight, you go and get some pizza and stuff, you know. So your life sort of shifts. So you're going to bed very late and getting up very late as well.
Yeah.
But we didn't do that. We used to get up and go off because you're travelling round.
Oh, you're in another part of the world, aren't you?
Yeah,
Stuff
you
like
wake
that.
up every day somewhere different. So
what
we were on the
places
beach and
What places have you cruised around?
that was
working as a band?
really round most of it around the Mediterranean. It was with the Holland America, the American cruise line.
Right.
So they're all Americans on those ships.
Right.
And of course they appreciate jazz.
They do, and they know how to enjoy themselves as well.
They do, and they're very complimentary as well.
Right,
They like to talk to you.
Is there some good tips going about for that? Because America, we were talking about this with friends of mine about the culture of paying musicians in this country, and we always expect it to be the venue or selling tickets or stuff like that. But in America and lots of other countries, they have a big tipping culture, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So were you allowed a tip jar on the cruise ships, or you were so well paid it didn't
They
matter?
would usually, and the pay was good actually, but most of the time they buy you a drink. Cocktail would be like $10.
Dangerous.
So,
Dangerous.
But we met some great people, some really great
I bet
people.
you did.
But it's peculiar as well. The Americans are very different to the. I mean, we just done this cruise, the holiday to Scandinavia that we just returned.
Not taking the guitar on that one.
No.
No, a break from that. That's work.
Absolutely.
We had a break from work. Yes, of course.
But the Brits don't do. They're mostly British on that, and they don't do what the Americans do. Because what the Americans do is they walk up to you with the sheet music.
No.
Can you play that?
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, play that, and they
So you
demand.
can read that music that well, I take it, right?
Some of the material we wouldn't want to play. Actually,
It's a little bit controversial.
but you've got to keep the audience satisfied, and they get very stroppy as well. They're very
Really?
demanding.
Is it whoever pays the piper calls the
Yeah,
tune? kind of thing,
probably is
it?
actually, yeah.
Wow.
But it was a kind of an international band that we took. The piano player was from Italy. So he was.
So this isn't a band when you do this cruise. So let's talk about that Mediterranean one, for example. These are musicians that you've like a pickup band, like you've met up and said
meet at the airport.
Your agent put those together.
We literally met
like
at. I got the gig through an agent that we'd already done some really nice corporate work with.
Yeah.
And I thought I wouldn't mind doing a cruise because you're away for a couple of months
Sounds
and everything's
great fun,
there.
to be honest,
it
mate.
really
What an
is.
experience, huh?
I think some people in the past, it's a bit cheesy doing. I mean, if you listen to, Simon Cowell,
Sure.
if he's auditioning these people on.
Oh, you're on a cruise.
Yes,
ship
you're a
kind of
cruise
thing. It's
ship.
almost like an insult, isn't it?
It
but
is
it's
an
well
insult.
played. It's well played work.
Yes.
It's playing your instrument for 5-6 hours a
Absolutely.
day.
And
Which I tell you what, you wouldn't practice that much for your own. I mean,
No, that's right.
At my peak practice time, I was at 3 to 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
But with your instrument in your hand for that amount of time, you're going to get good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Expand your repertoire.
And you also do, so say you're doing, you might do, say, My Funny Valentine, something like that.
Beautiful.
So you might do it as a ballad, one night, and the night after you do it as a bossa nova. And, or then swing it a little
What,
bit.
just to mix it
to
up
mix
and
it
make
up,
it more interesting
because
for
you
yourself?
need a lot of material, you
Right.
really do.
Yeah, because I said to you earlier, didn't I, about having a repertoire, and there must be just sort of I know that there's jazz standards that we all as jazz musicians, you all know, because the same for the blues circuit. I can go to a blues jam and someone will call out Love in Vain or She Called a Katie or any of those, because they're standards and we all know those.
Yeah.
So once you've got like 4 or 5 musicians of that standard and that experience, you can swing it, you can bossa nova
Yes.
it, you can
Yes.
reggae it, you can do whatever you
And
like.
because
to
you're
it.
working, so much with those people, you get to feel the vibes,
There is something when you work with a musician, isn't there? You get to know that, I know where he's going to change.
Yes, that's
I know
right.
where he's going to go with this, 'cause that's where
Instinctively,
he goes.
things just happen. Like things will reach a crescendo and then stop. And
Yeah.
no one's arranged that. No one's.
You can
conducted
feel it in
just
each other, can't you? I
happens.
do believe
Yeah.
that it's a higher form of like communication between musicians who have played together for a length of time. And I guess if you're doing 5-6 hours a night, then that happens very quickly. It's like Danny. I don't even have to look at him. My partner in crime for the duo, Danny, who you met. I think
Yes.
he said say hello. By
Oh,
the way,
right,
sorry,
yeah,
missed you.
yeah, he's
But
a great bloke.
yeah, he was. He and I can tell that he's going to cut the chorus short. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I can tell because his voice goes. I think goes a certain way or tells off something like he's going to cut that this time. Oh, he did. Okay, and it doesn't matter because nobody knows and the song is still good, so it's fine, isn't it?
That can be a bit of a sore point actually, because a lot of jazz musicians, they like to know the form.
For sure.
And with Sally up front, if things are going well, because you read the audience as well, don't you?
Yeah.
This is going well, I'll stick an extra
Stick a
verse
solo in there, yeah.
You know, but if you haven't sort of forewarned some musicians, they're very sensitive to and argumentative.
Oh, they really are.
What's the form?
God,
you know,
they've
got to stick to the form. You know.
Yeah, I've had guys.
So
like
you
that.
get friction as well.
Yeah.
From that,
it's a funny. Someone described it like being in a band as being married to 3 other guys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
So you have to be sensitive there as well, don't you?
But it's not just. I mean, you know, I didn't sort of make my whole career working on cruise ships. And some do. The women to bloke.
Sure. This is what I mean. I mean, this is why I'm so pleased to get you on here, because even in the short conversation we had at the TUC gig at the church, you've had about 10 careers, not all in music, but mostly in the entertainment industry as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Just sort of finishing off the cruise thing. It is about the music, but also, and I think this is sometimes musicians leave a bit of a hole in this area. It's about how you behave professionally. You know how you talk to people, what you wear. I mean, I booked a bass player.
How you present yourself. You know. I think that's insanely important.
It really is.
I think.
Yeah.
Yes. And I have two rules in life generally. And the first one is don't piss off the sound engineer, and the second one is don't piss off the IT guy. And because that handles all of my career things. Because if you piss the sound engineer off, he's basically got your life in your hands.
That's
the
true.
IT guy.
Yeah.
So how you present yourself, turn up on time. Sound check on time.
Yes.
You know, introduce yourself. Don't just think that these people work for you, because they don't.
That's right.
The sound engineer is not your slave.
Yeah.
You know, the barmaid is not your slave. Getting you your free drinks. You know, the promoter is not lucky to have you. It's a business proposition.
Absolutely.
You're there. You're there by mutual consent, aren't you?
Yes.
So no, I completely agree
I booked
with
a
you,
bass
mate.
player once, a double bass player, for a corporate do, and it was black tie. And you know, you wear as well as your tuxedo, bow tie, you know, you wear a smart pair of shoes. And this bloke turned up with a pair of trainers. He got a suit on, but he got a pair of trainers on, and you just look at it.
If he wants to be
you
a cover
think,
band in a pub or play original music, you know, at a theatre or something like that, or at a festival, then that's great.
Yeah,
that's the place, right?
Yeah.
But you know, man's playing the dolly. You're in the nice restaurant with the champagne breakfasts. Wear the shoes.
Yeah, that's right, and behave. You know,
behave accordingly.
Properly.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. There are times and places to be, you know, whoever you want. I mean, you wouldn't turn up for the office job in a in a mankini, would you?
No, exactly.
You just wouldn't.
I don't know.
I don't know. It would be entertaining at least, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, especially when it was 40 degrees, wasn't it? We missed that. Luckily, we were away.
You did. Yeah. So wait, you've also done some original music because you brought with you an album that you were on as well.
Yeah. You mentioned my wife's material.
Yes. New Beginnings. There's some
that.
lovely stuff on YouTube with that. So that was that recently, that one?
Yeah, it was during lockdown really.
Okay,
so
the last 2 years.
She wrote this one song, and then I've written another one. She says, you know, so she got about 3 or 4. So we started to record them. And
I also saw that you did some session work. I mean, obviously, I searched for your name. We put in Keith Krykant into Google. And up comes about 10,000 pictures of Ed Sheeran.
Yes, exactly.
So I had to wade through those to find out where's the talent. Oh, that's naughty of me, wasn't it? Where's my jazz guitar friend Keith? And there you were. You also did some session work, I noticed, for Easy Rollers. Is that Drill Hall Studios?
Yeah, do you know what?
Some jazz guitar on there?
My grandson. He said, I've been looking at you online.
It was a beautiful
he calls me
piece of guitaring, mate. Absolutely.
Do you know, I didn't know that bloke was filming that or anything. Because what he said, I'll just play the track. He said, I don't care how long it takes. Just go in and can you improvise?
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was a lovely piece.
So I was just...
is that a guitar that you didn't sell? Did you manage to keep hold of that one?
Yeah, that's my my classical guitar. It's a handmade classical guitar.
Handmade? I was going to say, what guitars do you favour?
That one's an Armin Grop.
Okay.
I've got a Spanish classical guitar, but I wanted something to. I do love the sound of nylon, strung guitar, and it's nice for jazz. You don't see many people using a classical guitar for jazz, and I've also got a Godin, which actually I'm playing this week. I'm doing a little thing with poetry.
Oh wow!
And the Godin speaks very clearly because you can plug it in.
Is it Dominic Miller for Steve's guitar? Steve Sting's guitarist, I think, is a Godin man as well. Sort of nylon strung acoustic.
Yeah, that's right.
Acoustic-caster kind of thing.
Yes. Well, there's a bit of a story behind that because I bought that probably about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And I sold it to a friend of mine, and he never ever played it.
Wow,
it just sat in the
like
case.
The Star Wars figure in the wrapper, isn't it? Get out and play with it.
Yeah, exactly. I said, "Why don't you play it?" He said, I couldn't get on with the neck because he plays Chet Atkins style,
Okay.
And he's got one of those Gretsch country, gentlemen with a with a Bigsby and all of that.
Yeah.
And he said, "I can't get on with the wide fingerboard."
Right, which classical guitars and sort of I noticed they do when you go to school, to give you school lessons, they give you them guitar fingerboards that are about
that's right,
about 6 inches across.
They're actually 2 inches
like
normally is the standard.
Yeah, and then you get an electric and you think this is tiny,
skinny little thing. I can't get on very well now with electric with the skinny little strings. I still keep going back to the. I like the space, and I play plectrum style rather than finger style because
well, that's unusual for your jazz style.
Yeah.
Who are your influences jazz-wise then? Who do you like listening to?
I like
Who do you think?
try to be sort of not. I don't like to sort of copy anyone. I try to be sort of independent. And
who do you like then?
People like Joe Pass. I think it's some of the precision when he does those very fast runs, and you can hear every single note.
Oh wow!
But people like Martin Taylor, wonderful guitarists. I've discovered. The funny thing is, there was a quote. I think it was Paul Simon. I read recently in a book. Paul Simon said that he'd worked with some of the world's greatest musicians. Most of them completely unknown.
Really?
And there's a guy called Francesco Buzzera, I think it is, or Buzzera, Buzzera.
Yeah.
Discovered him. Funny thing is, he plays a nylon strung. He's got a jazz guitar, an archtop with nylon strings. Must be a custom made, guitar.
Yeah.
Who's ever heard of him?
What do you think that is?
Player,
Do you think that these days we have to be good at promoting ourselves and pushing ourselves forward, as well as spending our time learning instruments? Because learning an instrument takes an awful lot. So 10,000 hours to be good at it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And especially on these podcasts, I talk to people about 90% of their time is taken up promoting themselves and trying to get gigs and trying to push their music forward. And 10% of it is actually playing the instrument.
Yeah,
playing the songs.
That's
and it's
right.
a tragedy. So perhaps these guys spend their 90% playing. And
I think they must do. If you look at his playing, he's a bit of classical, a bit of flamenco, and a bit of jazz, and he plays finger style. See, my nails are rubbish. I just get a pathetically thin, sort of flicky sound. So that's why I use with a plectrum. Yeah.
So what got you started in music at all? Then?
I think it was in me right. My grandfather, my dad was Polish, and my dad was very musical, and but my grandfather played classical piano and violin in Poland. So it came through. Through the family, I think.
So you knew musicians,
and it was from a young age. Yeah. I mean, when I was about 6 or 7, and I don't even know where I spotted this, but I made myself a little amplifier. It was a shoebox with plasticine.
Like Brian May style.
I mean, it didn't work. Obviously, it was just a shoebox with
just something to play with.
I put bits of wire in there, and
So I'd seen this somewhere and thought, I want to be a guitarist like that. Then
I don't know where it came. Must have seen it on 6-5 Special. Was that sort of?
You really are showing your age now, Keith.
Yeah, I know. Crikey, that must be 60 years ago. Well, I'm 71. So.
Are you really?
Yeah. Oh dear.
He didn't flinch walking up 3 flights of stairs, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't flinch at all. I've known people half his age gasp like mad.
There you go.
Darren Stigler-Lewis. But anyway, me actually. Yeah. Well, yeah, mate. So
no, it was something that was in me, and I remember having when I was a kid, we didn't often have new Christmas presents.
Right.
If you had a train set, it was a second-hand one. So if you got a guitar, it was going to be a second-hand one.
Yeah.
So I had this guitar. It wasn't very good, and I didn't know how to tune it or anything.
So how old were you when you got your first guitar?
I was probably, I'd probably be about 9 or 10, I think.
Okay, so that's a
You know,
fairly
it was a
early
dream
age.
for me to have a guitar.
It's a fairly early age comparatively to a lot of other guys I talk. Usually sort of early teens.
Yeah,
Usually
and
it's
at
an
that
act of
time as
rebellion,
well.
or when the parents go finally give in and say, "All right, I'll buy you one for God's sake."
Yes, yes. But at that time there weren't many guitars around. I mean, I remember hearing Bert Weedon being interviewed, and I remember him saying, I think he bought his first guitar from a market stall or something, and he was walking along with it, and this bloke said to him, he said, "Cool," he said, what's that you got there? He said, "It's a guitar." And the bloke said, "Cool, I never heard of one."
See, the younger generation, probably the younger guys under 30 listening to this podcast, and I know there's a couple of them, would never ever have heard who this Bert Weedon fella is.
No, that's right, no.
But even in my generation, and I'm not, there's not a chasm of years between us, about the same age as my parents, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to relate to there. But Bert Weedon's songbook and guitar method was absolutely everywhere.
Yes.
Everybody used
Play in
it.
a day.
It was the standard, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was, absolutely.
So did you get yourself hold of a Bert Weedon book?
Yeah,
as
I
well,
did.
you,
Yeah,
mate?
yeah. I couldn't understand it, to be honest, because it was talking about diminished chord. I couldn't work it out. Why?
Why would anyone shrink a chord? What have they done that for?
And why it was in different positions is what the same chord.
Yeah.
Because it keeps inverting, of course. And of course, working or learning from a book, there's no one to tell you that, to help you,
No,
You're trying
for
to
sure.
decipher it.
I do tell people I teach harmonica, and people say, "What's the advantage of having a one-to-one lesson?" Because I can look at you and say, "You've not got the harmonica far enough in your face."
Yeah.
So you're not getting enough wind through down the channels, and it's as simple as that. They could be, "Oh, I've been puffing," and one guy was like, "I've been puffing away at that for bloody 3 years."
Yeah.
And wondering why I'm not getting anywhere.
Yes, exactly.
You're not getting an airtight seal. But it's things like that. I have guitar lessons now with a chap over in Galston. He has actually sent a question for you. I told him.
Oh,
once.
right.
I was interviewing Ed Sheeran's guitar teacher, and he was like, "Oh, I've got a question for him." And it's not about you; it's about Ed Sheeran. But anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that eventually.
Okay, all right.
But I go to him and he says, "Well, your fingers aren't in the right, you're holding your pick." I was holding my pick at an angle, and scraping across the strings as opposed to hitting it dead on. I was like, "Why is it making that noise?" And he was like, he could look at me and go, "Right, you need to turn your pick around."
Yes.
And I think a one-to-one lesson, there's so many of those sorts of habits and foibles that you come across that a one-to-one lesson could look at you and go, which a book won't. But it sounds to me like there were some fundamentals in that book that sort of, got you started.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we used to have those little what do they call them? Those pitch pipes to tune it with.
Oh, did you?
You
you learned to tune by ear straight off.
Dear. And it sounds nothing like a guitar. It sounds more like a harmonica, doesn't it?
Well, my old blues guitarist used to tune his guitar to my harmonica. He'd say, "Give us an E," and then he would tune it up from there. But he'd trained himself, through years of doing that. Like he was old enough to, be before electronic tuners.
Yeah, that's right.
Because again, there weren't any, so you limited on choice
and when you
guitars.
played in bands, you didn't tune
to each
any.
other. It was relative.
Yeah, there was no real pitch. You didn't tune to A at 440. You just you just guessed. Oh,
so there's old films where you hear
right.
the orchestra tuning up and stuff like that, but they were finding an A somewhere between 400 and 450 hertz. Yeah.
Well, I think I read it actually. An interesting thing that Martin Taylor said. He said that he tunes to 453.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You see, I had a conversation with.
He says it sounds better.
With my other half of my duo, Danny R, about 432. And tune into there. So I did a little YouTube video comparing that. We played the same song because I had the tune when I first met him. He'd tuning his guitar to 432 hertz, and harmonicas out of the factory gate as standard are tuned to 440. So I then had to take the 20 reeds of my harmonica and tune them 8 hertz down in order to be in line with him. But to start off with, obviously, he came up to me because there's only 6 strings as opposed to 20 reeds on the 40 harmonicas that I play.
Right.
But however, I found it fascinating. Yeah, there's my case over there. Everyone loves that case. But I found it fascinating. So I tuned a few harmonicas to 432.
Yeah.
And we did a little A-B comparison, like on the thing. And I've got to say, standing back from it objectively, you're listening to the song, there's not a great difference. But when I played the harmonica, I don't know whether it was just because it might have been just because it was slightly lower. I really can't explain it, but it did feel like there was a lot more resonance round my mouth or something like that. But I couldn't explain it. But scientifically, and I did it as a quite scientific study, I couldn't find any hard evidence to sort of support that. But it's interesting that musicians pick those kind of things.
Well, I
isn't
think
it?
when I've restrung a guitar and you're tuning up, sometimes there's a real sort of sweet spot on a string,
Right.
that then as you tension it more, becomes stifled.
Okay.
You lose that
That's
resonance.
interesting. Yeah.
Because every single guitar is, the timbre and everything, whether it's solid or hollow, every single one's different. And I know we have to tune, to 440.
Well, we have to pick a common denominator between if we're going to
Yeah,
play together.
that's
aren't we,
right.
really?
Yeah. But
I think Danny had
there's
been
a
doing
point.
solo gigs up to that point, so it was sort of,
right.
and then I came along and dragged him back up to 440. But
Yeah.
but we're thinking
Yeah.
about it. It's a talking point. Anyway, it does divide the musicians I've talked to about it quite down the middle. For those that say it's absolute toss, and those that say, well, I think
I think there's a
It might be. My mind is open.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that's cool.
I remember having I bought a Gibson jazz guitar 20 odd years ago, and I was never really very happy with it, to be honest. Bits used to fall off, and it had a lot of problems, and eventually I stuck it for 9 months and then I sold it.
Yeah.
But one of the problems was the third string, the G. It never did sound right, and I tried using a plain string. I used to use say a 12, so it'd be a 24 thou third string. So I tried a plain, I tried a 22, I tried a 20, I tried a 26. I went upwards, to have more tension. Never did. And then I read somewhere that the particular pickups on, I think they were classic 57s or something, they are renowned for not reproducing the third string. So it was so frustrating.
Really? So you can do the string all you like and you pick up when you get it.
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
Chasing your
It's the
tail
pickup
quite
all along.
literally. So what's this original music you've bought? We talked about the New Beginnings with your wife Sally as well.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated by the double LP that you've bought by your band Wellington.
Yeah, when
with
I was
the excellent
about,
picture of you on the back in your 20s.
When I had a hair.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Puts me.
Any
in a bad
one of
mood
us in our
looking at
20s. I mean, I look at a picture of me at 21. I had long hair. I'm tall and thin. I feel like I've shrunk. I must be the same height, but I feel shorter and fatter, or quite clearly fatter. And obviously, I don't have long hair anymore because it shows off how receding I am. But yeah, mate. So what's this?
This was a band. This was quite interesting actually, because we played people. Well, I'll start with another band.
Sure.
I was playing with a band called Museum, and we did what we called electric jazz. We had a great singer. He was not a vocalist. He was a singer.
Okay.
And,
Right.
Yeah, very.
What do you believe the difference to be between those two things?
Well, I think he was very influenced by like West Side Story. Sort of
classical singing
and theatre, if you like.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just someone who just stood up and sort of gave out a throaty,
screeching
raspy
wails
sort of,
like a rock singer kind of
yeah,
thing.
he wanted to sing, use his lungs and his voice, and he was great. So we this was up in the Midlands when I lived in the Midlands. So we got really the best musicians in that area: drums, sax.
So what sort of time period are we talking about here? 60s, 70s?
Yeah, late 69, I think, 70. Yeah. And we formed this band called Museum. And we rehearsed. We really wrote our own material, and then we found that we got our own style that was people were liking, the record companies particularly.
So you were signed to a record label at this time.
We were on the cusp of that. We were right there. And then two of the guys got promoted at work because we were, we had our jobs.
You had your day jobs, yeah.
And two of them got promoted, and they said,
"What were you doing for a day job at this time?"
Well, I trained as a technical engineer, so I was doing that. But I wanted to, obviously, play music, and I put everything into it, and as we all did in that band.
Sure.
And until, as I say, two said, "Oh, I can't do it anymore," I've got my job to think about.
Yeah,
and it fell apart right at that point.
Such a familiar story.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Including myself.
Yeah.
There was a point where it was like either I sling in and do all of that, or actually, I've just been offered a really nice job. I'm going to get married and have a kid, and it's not like but music requires a certain level of your time and a certain amount of time that isn't conducive to that kind of life at that particular point in your life. And I know that musicians, full-time musicians, do have young families and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if you scratch the surface of any of those to say when their baby was born or when their marriage was new, things were quite tough, I dare
Yes.
say. And I've read quite a few autobiographies and stuff
Yeah.
like that of, the bigger boys and stuff like that, the bigger musicians. And yeah, it is a time. And you want to be home every night. You do want to be home every night to do
Yeah.
the bedtime, the bath time, to do those things.
Yes.
And let's face it, them boys had probably been, as I had been, chasing that career for quite a lot of time as well on the day job. So when you finally get the recognition you've been after,
Yes,
you're going to
that's
take it.
right,
You're not going to spend it on a maybe. But you were you were committed to the cause at that point.
I was, yeah, because I was single.
Sure.
And but there was another. We used to rehearse at this farm where there was a studio, and the guy that ran that, he'd seen me playing with Museum, and he said, "Oh, I'd love it if you could, come and play with us," because he was playing folk music really. It was acoustic, playing acoustic guitar, and he had that kind of throaty voice, a little bit like Cat Stevens.
Okay.
A
bit like John Martin.
I never heard of him.
You never heard of John Martin? You're walking out of here with the John Martin album, definitely.
Oh, right.
Oh, word.
Okay.
I'm
So you
I'm
learn something every day,
really
even at
quite
my
shocked,
age.
Keith. Really quite shocked. But there you go. Anyway, yeah.
I'm just a naive, innocent little...
Innocent little jazz guitarist, me. No, the rock and roll stories will come out, mate. Come on. I'll keep teasing them now. I'll pull on that thread.
Well, Steve was right. I wasn't particularly interested in what he was doing, to be honest. But when we got together, what he did, he pulled in his folky musicians. He got a violinist. So what we did, we got someone to make. It must have been one of the first electric violins.
Oh, really?
Because he made this violin. It was a solid-bodied violin, and because then you needed a pickup.
Would he put a piezo pickup in it or something?
No, they weren't around, I don't think, then.
Right.
You know what he did? He made some bobbins from like cotton reels or something.
What, just wound copper wire? in it? Oh, my God.
And put some sort of pin, like a core through the middle.
Yeah.
And he put it on underneath the bridge.
Why?
Underneath the strings at the bridge
Yeah.
point. And that's how he electrified it.
That must have sounded
And,
raspy as hell.
Yeah, it was, but it worked.
Yeah,
It
for
worked.
sure.
And
Yeah,
I think he must have
necessity
been
is the
prudent.
mother of invention, isn't it? Let's face
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Funny
that
thing was, this bloke was
the core of this album then?
Yeah,
that's on there?
it turned into a, what was it? Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a 5-piece, yeah. So we played about 25 instruments between us.
Oh, my God.
Actually.
So what other instruments do you play?
Well, I played mostly guitar, but I used to play slide guitar, which I used to put through 2 Watkins copycat.
Watkins
Echo
copycats.
units.
I haven't seen those for donkeys. Do you know how much they go for on eBay?
Oh, I
now?
know. Yeah, I should have kept. I had 2.
You had 2.
But I found a way of. There's a little magnet, so as the tape goes round, it records, and then as it comes by the magnet, it's erased just by a simple magnet.
Yeah.
So what I did, I took the magnet out. So
it
you've
would
got this
keep going, like an echo place
yes,
kind of
and
thing.
I had 2 in series, one
Right.
after the other. So when I did the sort of like a glissando, it was just
So you say
massive.
slide, you talking about lap steel?
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
it's an
thing?
8-string. Yeah, so I played that, and I played mandola and mandolin. I've never really been into folk music as such, but the stuff we were doing was with the violin and with keyboards, and the guy that used to sing, he played an E-flat clarinet.
Right.
I think most
That was
clarinets are
handy
B-flat.
of him for the guitar, isn't it?
I think he got it in a junk shop or something.
Yeah.
Well, this might come in useful.
Sounds very psychedelic. What was going on?
It
over
was a
there.
bit that way.
Yeah.
That clarinet sounded very much like an Eastern Arabic sort of instrument, the sort of thing you charm snakes with.
Yeah, that sort of Phrygian scale kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of Eastern noise there. Yeah,
Yes,
lovely.
yeah.
Oh wow.
And so that's the kind of stuff we were doing, and we supported Fleetwood Mac. And,
Did you?
And I'm not just saying this because my wife will tell you, because she was.
I
in
know
the
by now,
audience.
Keith, you're not a bullshitter, mate. It's fine.
We blew them off the stage.
My God.
That really cheesed them off.
And
Actually,
what
'cause they-
Fleetwood Mac would this be? Would
Th-
this be
this
Peter
is-
Green's Fleetwood Mac then?
No, between.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So after that, but before the.
Before the
Yeah.
before the
And they were
what
really
two Americans
cheesed off.
joined.
It because we used to share the same dressing room. And
Where
on the
was this in? What gig was this?
This is on the university circuit, which we were doing.
Yeah.
And you always got on the university circuit a barrel of Guinness with a siphon. You know
That's dangerous. Tell Danny
or
Arnold
a
to
crate,
get that,
or
a
two
barrel
or
of
three
Guinness.
crates of Newcastle Brown. You know, that's what
Nuki
you got.
Brown, yes.
Well, they stole ours because we just blown them off the stage.
Well, they're well known in history now for their drink and drugs escapades. So we're in hindsight we're not surprised, but at the same time you'd have been like, bastards.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It was part of the gig, wasn't it? The
Brilliant.
Bottle
So
of Newcastle Crown.
this album then was remade by Record Collector. You were
Yeah,
saying. Record
that's
Collector
right.
magazine.
Yeah, we did
paid
this
for a
album.
reprint.
Yeah, we did the album. Crikey, about 1970 or something.
Yeah.
And it sort of, it was like a demo, really.
Wow.
And it got the band. We won, I think, the New Musical Express. One of the categories of the band of the year.
Really?
At which point I left, actually, because it was starting to get a little bit silly, because the some of the material, we were doing these like suites that were lasting 20 minutes. They get more and more
It
complicated.
was a little bit self-indulgent, do you think?
Yeah, and I thought we're never going to, we can't just keep doing this.
Right.
It's highly complex stuff, to be honest. Some
Well,
of it.
yeah, I bet it is. but remember, I mean, I was in a band that was quite prog, and we did a couple of 8 to 10 minute tracks.
Yeah.
With a hell of a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And just remembering them.
Yeah, that's right. Because I love that, the challenge of all of that. But from an audience point of view, I just thought it was getting silly, So I left, and that's when I started to look more at recording work and session work. I recorded a couple of my own songs, and I started to take them around to record companies, and I went to Island Records, Muff Winwood was the A&R man at that time. Not Muff Winwood. Muff Winwood's... Yeah, Muff Winwood. That's right. Yeah, because there was Stevie Winwood and Muff Winwood.
Oh, right, I see.
It was Muff
now
Winwood.
I've put two and two together, yeah.
Yeah, he was at Island Records. And funny thing was, I just had an interview with an agent a few days before.
Because that was a very progressive record label at that
Yeah,
time. Well, up until quite
was.
recently, to be quite honest, it was considered to be very progressive.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was one of those sort of almost like an independent label.
Yeah.
And I just had gone to meet an agent a few days before, and we were talking about stuff that's coming up. I said, I'm seeing Muff Winwood next week. He said, Muff Winwood, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking a demo. And he said, he'll pick up newspaper, put a pair of headphones on, listen to your material, close the newspaper, put the headphones down, say, thank you very much, bye-bye. So when I went to Island Records, it was very nice, actually. We went to the side, where there was a kind of a counter, and it was a tape, 1/4-inch tape. He put it on, and exactly, what had been told with the newspaper. Out came the newspaper, and he actually listened.
Did he?
Yes, he said, I like what you're doing, because I was playing the steel. The steel guitar and building things up.
Beautiful.
And drum. I'd done the drums myself, and I wasn't a great drummer, but we got around it. And Sally had done the backing vocals. She was my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, I really like what you're doing, and he offered me the job with Sparks there and then.
Wow.
And I turned it down. It gave me the wrong impression, because I wanted to do. It's not. I think if I'd have been doing sort of pop stuff, I'd have been bored,
Really?
doing the same kind of 3 or 4 chords and stuff every night, I wanted to, the music was the most important thing.
That's interesting, isn't it? That you were at that level of, commitment to your art, rather than commitment of, I just want to have music as a job, and I don't care how I get there and how I do it. It was important to you. It was important to you how you got there and what you were doing with it as well.
It was, and
not just for an integrity reason or anything like that. Just because of that's what you wanted to do. It was your passion, right?
And I've often wondered which direction my life would have gone, because I might have ended up probably living in America.
Right.
At the last.
But no, you live around the corner from me now.
That's
so
right.
And you've just come back from a cruise, so life is not so bad, is it really,
It's
mate?
not, is it? But they've made, I think, maybe about 8 or 10 years ago, I read they'd made 35 albums.
Wow.
Those two, the Mays, I think their name, wasn't it? May, I think, the two brothers.
I don't know.
And blow me, I couldn't believe it, because I just turned it down. About 3 weeks later, they were on top of the pops.
Mate, you're sick in your beer, wouldn't you? Oh, wow.
But I didn't follow anything through with Ireland, because he said to me that they'd already got enough kind of songwriters, if you like, and he put me into that category.
So what they needed was an artist rather than a songwriter, I guess, is what they wanted. They wanted someone they can put in front of the band, put in front of the people and stuff like that. And they needed their U2s, their Bonos, their Amy Winehouses, didn't they, and stuff like that. Yeah.
But the funny thing was with Sparks, you see, he told me, because it was sort of the days of Gary Glitter, and he said there's going to be plenty of glamour and all of that, and that put me off.
But I want to see you in
But they
eyeliner and
weren't.
high heel
They
boots, to be
weren't.
honest, now, Keith. I really
well,
do, mate.
I've been there, you know. You should see my wedding photos. That was in Vogue then, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was totally the fashion and not
Yeah.
and not dress up and stuff like that. But the other prop that you brought with you is a book by about some fella. It's I don't know what his name is.
Yeah.
What's that all about, Keith?
He's pretty ubiquitous, isn't he? Well, we
We're talking about Mr. Ed Sheeran is what we're talking about.
I tell you how.
Are you mentioned in said autobiography?
Yeah, there's quite a bit about me actually.
Is there really?
If you look in the index, you'll see.
So what was because you were teaching guitar then?
No, not well.
No?
Not really. What happened was I'd gone back to playing, music for a living.
From your
And,
after your sort of job as a technician.
Yeah, because I was doing sound recording. I worked at the BBC.
Oh wow!
I was always more interested, I think,
Well,
in
that sounds
recording.
like a dream job to me. I mean,
So it was a great
yeah.
job. It was a great job, except that they want to move you on all the time. And the job that I was doing in London, producing BBC records, I knew that I wouldn't be able to do it for
So
very
you
long.
basically, like, instead of playing music, got to listen to top-notch musicians and produce them all day
I
long?
mixed a lot of
Right.
Stevie Wonder, Dolly Parton,
Have you?
and orchestral, classical stuff as
Yeah.
well. Diana Ross. Yeah, and I was working with the top studio managers in London. It was a great,
So you were
brilliant
running the desk?
dream job.
Or doing
No.
doing
As
editing and
a
stuff?
producer, you don't touch the desk. If you touch the
right.
desk, you'll get
You'll get a slapped hand,
Literally,
okay.
yeah, absolutely. You can get It was 1/4-inch tape. Wonderful. I love the big Studer tape machines.
Yeah.
And if the tape was rewinding and it was flapping around, you would just sit there. You don't turn it off because it's not your job to do that.
Wow. So what were you actually doing then?
So I was
day-to-day
producing.
basis?
It all goes down to copyright. So if the BBC, I mean things have probably changed now, but if the BBC was playing a record, then they would be paying for the artist, the record label. It was split into 6 or was it 12ths?
12ths. I remember 12ths.
Yes.
for
So
PRS,
the
yeah.
music publishing company, it was all spread out like that. But if the BBC put that onto their own label, they could bypass a lot of that.
Okay.
So BBC Records were producing a lot of their own.
Because did I hear for a long time, like
Recordings.
early sort of incarnations of Top of the Pops and the albums that they sold, sort of they would buy Top of the Pops because they would have the top 10 on it,
Yeah.
and it was none of it by the original artists and stuff like
yeah,
that.
that would probably be a way of getting around
Right.
that as well.
Okay, so
I mean,
what,
it's
you were
probably all
making these
changed
kind
now.
of records and stuff?
Yeah, I
like
used to
that?
go. It was really high quality recordings.
So were you doing the orchestration, playing the instruments? And
No,
stuff like
just
that?
recording.
Just recording
Yeah,
it. Just
and and the mixing, and then they'd go out around all the the radio stations.
Wow.
So a lot of what you would hear, say on Radio 2, was what I was producing.
God.
Yeah. So it's they call it needle time.
Yeah.
You only got so much needle time for a program, so you've got to make it up
To make it so
in
that
other
it
ways
fits
with
that.
interviews or whatever, speech, that kind of thing.
I see.
But yeah, that was a great job. But
So you got as far as you sort of could or wanted to.
yeah,
with
that's
that?
right. Yeah. The next job sort of moving on from that probably would have been behind a desk.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean a recording desk either.
No,
a desk,
a
desk,
pen pushing kind of
So
job.
yeah, and
where's the fun in that?
Yeah,
Absolutely
I didn't want to
no.
do that.
No,
So
for
I
sure.
left, and that's what brought me to East Anglia, because I just picked up one day a broadcast magazine, and there was a full page advert. They were looking for someone who produced music and speech, because a
Yeah.
lot of people haven't worked with speech.
Sure.
They know how to record music, they don't know how to record speech.
I'm getting there.
So,
It's not as easy as you think.
No,
is,
it's
is it?
not.
Getting the balance
No,
right and the
absolutely.
compression just so it doesn't peak over. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like they're sort of it's all they're shouting. It's dynamic.
Yes.
And there's dynamics to the way people speak as well.
Well, and
As
also
you
the
go, I found it-
inflection,
Yeah. I found you
making sure
compress
that
the
people get
crap
the
out
right
of
tone,
that. It loses all its character. There's a lot of podcasts to listen to where people are strapped right on the mic.
That's right,
And then
yeah.
full at the same volume. My daughter listens to a lot, or watches a lot of YouTube videos, and the audio is awful because it wants to be at a volume that
Yes.
everyone can hear it.
Yes.
And it's like, well, just chill.
And of course the breath. People say, why do DJs, why do they always sort of breathe so heavily? It's not, it's the compression. The gaps in between, you take a breath.
The silence has been brought up as well as the rest of the volume for the rest of it.
I remember when I was on my BBC course, we went all over the BBC. It's fabulous, because you go to all these places.
Right.
And we went to Radio 1, and there are two, PPMs, peak program meters.
Right.
They're the black ones with the white sort of lines on and needles,
They're like a VU meter kind of thing.
Yeah, but they pick up the peaks.
Okay.
Rather than flap about, they react quickly. They come up quickly and go down slowly. So they're sort of working at the peak of level. So peak program meters, and they've got two big ones high up in the Radio 1 where the output is, going to the transmitter. Yeah. And those PPM meters were stagnant. They were just at 6 like that. They didn't move because the compression was just holding everything there. There's no
dynamic to it anymore.
Not at all, no.
Wow.
But so I left the BBC, joined a company who were based in Ipswich, and we were producing programs independently. Great company. So the kind of job I had there was that the phone would ring, say on a Friday afternoon, and the following Thursday I'd be flying down the Grand Canyon in a helicopter, making programs, travel sort of things, and it was brilliant. Absolutely, I flew Concorde. At 60,000 feet, I went onto the flight deck to interview the flight crews. God. It was a great job. Great job. I loved it. But again, after 2 years, I was looking for something else, and that's when I set up my own business, which I ran for 16 years.
Wow.
And then after that, I wanted to get back to music, the kids had sort of left home. We had quite a big house, a big plot of land, which was a lot of hard work.
Sort of Ipswich way, or
over Mid-Suffolk. We were right out in the sticks, actually.
Oh, it's a lovely area of the world.
It is, actually. It is. Beautiful. But we quite clearly, we couldn't. My wife and myself couldn't sort of work as musicians. Keeping that house, and we couldn't just sort of leave it. So what we did, we scaled down. We moved to Framlingham.
Okay.
And we bought a place there where the garden we could almost just, the drop of a hat, we could just go. And that's what we did. So I played out in Dubai, for example, and came back on the Tuesday, and I think on the Thursday I flew out to do the cruise work.
Lovely.
And I didn't have to worry about the garden because we had very good neighbours. So they'd sort of look after the lawn. And we had a
I think it comes to a certain time of life where you start worrying about how your garden's going to look when you get back.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah. Though. Nice though. It's nice to have a nice garden. I like mine. My wife takes care of the garden and it looks great. I don't have much to do that. I mow the lawn every now and again, but I certainly can appreciate it, and I'm so glad that she does keep it, because if I sat out there on a patio over a summer's evening, I'd be like, look at the state of my garden.
That's
I'm so glad of it. It's lovely. But it
was a kind of a walled garden, so we didn't have to worry too much about about plants, watering them or whatever, because we had things in pots, and the neighbours would come in and do that.
Great.
And Framlingham was like that.
Yes.
So we got to know the guy that ran the Crown. Is it the Crown? I think in Framlingham.
Yeah, nice pub.
Yeah, you know the one. And he was building a kind of a club, converting one of the rooms, like the stables, I think it was, into and he had some great ideas. He wanted to have a jazz club there, so he talked to us about
perfect guy. You made for it, weren't you, mate? Yeah.
Well, I didn't really want to be booking people.
Oh, I see. You don't want to run it. You want to play.
I want to go and play there. So we did, and the Sheerans came, and Ed Sheeran was, I think, about 13 at that time.
Yeah.
And here's a funny thing for you, because he was quite famous in Framlingham.
Oh, I see.
He was playing in a rock band at school, and people knew him. Oh, there's Edward, because I always think of him as Edward, not Ed. It was Edward. And there's Edward, going by. He's the guy that plays in that school band, and they came to see me and Sally. We were just doing a duo, and he said to his mum and dad, "God, he's the first guitar player I've ever seen that's better than me, better than himself."
There's some arrogance, because I always thought everyone's a better guitar player than me. You're certainly a better harmonica player than me. Everybody. Wow.
But I thought, to think that you're 13 and there's this guy that's like in his 50s. I think about 52 or something.
Yeah.
And he's the first one you'd seen that's better than You know, yeah.
Wow.
So it got quite an inflated sort of.
Yeah, he certainly had.
opinion.
My word. But nice that someone came and took him down a peg or two, and nice to be, nice to be
Yes.
taken down as well, because and admit that you don't know things. And I think I do know a lot of
Yeah.
young musicians that do already think that they've done enough practice, that they've done enough, musical education, that they know enough music theory, that they know nothing. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think I ever will.
You never ever.
I don't
never
think
ever.
I'll ever know enough as much as I need to, because the minute I think I know enough to learn one song, I hear another song or something else I want to learn that I'm not good enough to be able to play.
And all the different genres. I mean, I've never played country music.
Have you not?
No.
That
Of course,
surprises
what
me.
they play is. I mean, I haven't got a clue.
Especially with the pedal steel, with the lap steel.
Oh, yeah.
No, that'd be amazing for that.
I love it.
Country's lovely. I love country.
pedal steel. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's just such a big sound. I don't think there's. Yeah, I mean, I find the harmonica one of the reasons I picked it a very expressive instrument, because the wail that you put into it, because it comes from just like a voice, because it comes from your lungs, from your chest. And when I hear in country music that slide come up, and they do it at just the right place to bring the song up as well. It's
sings.
Gorgeous.
It absolutely sings, doesn't it? Because you get that sustain on it as well.
Yeah, it really does. So how did Ed then? Did he say, "Well, he's good, Dad. I want him to teach me the guitar"?
Well, he'd had a guitar teacher showing him a few licks, who I knew actually. I got to know, again because Framlingham's quite a small.
It's a small town,
community. Yeah. And he told me, he said, I just don't know what to do with him.
Right.
He said, I've kind of run out of ideas. Because Ed had this insatiable appetite, for different stuff. His brain all the time.
Yeah,
I want to do this, I want to do
he's very
that,
eclectic,
Yes.
He's not my cup of tea, but I can appreciate that he is very, very good at what he does. Really good, and the songwriting is second to none. But yeah, for sure. So
I helped him with some of his stuff.
Did you? Are you on the copyright for that?
No, there's a thanks on one of his albums.
But him and copyright, don't we?
let's not go there.
Let's not get sued as well.
But it was a challenge because he did. His mum approached me. Could I go and give him some tuition? So I said okay. So it was I could walk, and I got to know the Sheerans very well because I taught Ed every single week for 5 years.
Wow.
And sometimes on a Sunday morning, his mum would say, "Could you come on Sunday morning for a couple of hours?"
That's a commitment for lessons. 5 years, it really is.
Yeah.
So my guitar teacher would like to know, what was Ed a natural student?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or was he hard work? Did he struggle with anything?
It was hard work, but not in a not because he was struggling, but because I'd got to keep thinking of new things.
Oh, really? He was like a little sponge, huh?
All the time. Yeah. Like for example, I did a thing where I replaced the fourth string, I think, on the guitar for a plain thin string and tuned it up an octave.
Whoa.
So you had a kind of a pseudo 12-string sort of effect.
Yeah. That sounds like some odd folk instruments that I've seen, banjolales and stuff like that, all sorts of bits and pieces.
I just read on holiday, funnily enough, I think it was, I was just reading something, Paul Kossoff from Free years ago, he used a 13 as a first string. I don't know what his second was, but he used to use a plain, for the fourth, he used a plain banjo string.
Wow. This is very nerdy guitar stuff. Mate.
Yeah, it is.
Very,
I mean, a four,
intense.
I can't imagine how that, what it would be like. Just like wire, isn't it? It's like cheese wire. But yeah, apparently used a plain fourth string, which he took from a banjo. And tuned it up.
Okay.
So this was a kind of a similar thing, if you like, but all the time.
But why did you do this then? To get him out of his comfort zone, to try and
because he wanted to know. It was also he bought some recording stuff, and it was like, okay, what's a balanced line?
So he got the perfect thing in you, hadn't he, really? So you've got your sound engineering and your production, your producer stuff,
BBC
and then
training.
your expert guitar playing as well. He'd struck gold, really, hadn't he, when he saw you playing that?
And I've been sort of recognised for
That's
that.
the main thing. That's great,
in
isn't it?
Letters from his parents and things.
And a great mention in the book too, and I think that would be worth. Do you know what? The royalties be down. That would be worth it for me.
Yes.
Just some, because I never really I'd be lying if I didn't say I would like to be a rich man, but I never picked up my instrument and never played it because I thought it would make me rich. I always played it because I loved playing the thing. I loved the noise it made, and my later ambition was I want people to say, boy, that bloke can play.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, and that's what I thought when I saw you.
Bless you, mate. Thank you. Well, that's job done for me.
Yes.
And that really is, especially from another musician of your calibre, to go, yeah, that guy can play.
Well, it's
and
like,
the same when I heard you,
but
me and
jazz,
Danny were like, what is that guitar going on in there?
Oh, right.
That is insane, which is why we had to talk to you afterwards, you know.
But, you don't do it for the money, do you?
No, I certainly
no, you don't. No, I went to see Martin Drew doing a Tubby Hayes sort of tribute, if you like, and he was there were a lot of anecdotes about Ronnie Scott.
Oh, okay.
And Ronnie Scott said,
there's some very in jokes for jazz,
yeah, that's
for jazzers.
Right. Oh,
isn't
yes,
it? It's
that's
a limited
right.
audience for jazzers.
Yeah, it was very interesting actually.
Yeah.
I didn't realise Ronnie Scott was a big gambler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he was
Opening
talking.
a club like that's a bloody gamble,
well, it would be,
isn't it?
wouldn't it? But one of the anecdotes, he came up with or little jokes, if you like. Ronnie Scott said, "How do you make $1 million from playing jazz? Start with 2 million."
Nah.
And that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? It's
How do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice.
yeah,
Yeah.
or turn left at the bottom of the street there, whatever it is. Yeah, but going back to the sort of the fame thing, if you like, this album that we did with Wellington all those years ago, it got lost for like 40 years, and then Record Collector found it in a collection in Nottingham, I think it was,
right,
and they were absolutely knocked out.
So Record Collector's a magazine. As it turns out, I used to work for a company that used to make it. We used to have we used to do the plate section, what they call the plate section.
Yeah.
It was a smaller format then, so we used to get the photographs of Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that to scan in. We thought we'd lost a slide of Jim Morrison once. They went absolutely mental. Record Collector used to go absolutely. I used to make bromides up of these things. I used to scan them in and clean them up and make bromides. So Record Collector is a magazine that I've seen go past my eyes. So they found this rare record of you.
They found the record, and because my name was on it, because my name is so unusual,
sure.
He traced me through a place that I'd played.
Well, he didn't Google you and get 10,000 images of Sheeran.
No, that would predate it. Yes, it would. No, actually, it'd be about that same time, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he rang me up, this guy, lovely bloke,
and
he said, "Can we come and interview you? Because we found this record, and we'd like to actually, release it." Which is what they did. They did a new cover.
So it's this lovely bit of gatefold vinyl that you've got.
Yeah,
there.
which is wonderful.
It's gorgeous.
And do you know what? I remember when he came to interview me at home, he came up from London, and we tracked down one of the other guys, and he went to interview him as well.
Yeah.
And actually we got together after that, and,
nice.
After 40-odd years.
Wow.
But, when that went into Record Collect, which I've got there, it's in print, and...
the Sex Pistols album is on the back, being advertised,
But... I said to my wife, I said, that's enough for me. I've been recognised.
Yeah.
If I did something 40 years ago and someone's picked it up and said, wow, we were knocked out, blown
no
away.
No one's doing that with my Nexus EP from 1999, mate. I'm telling you that now.
You never know, though.
You ever take a super fan or just record buffs, and I guess for them, you've almost made their dream come true, because as a record collector they're building it again, aren't they?
Yes, that's right.
Releasing the music to a new generation.
Yes.
And, we all, as musicians, we're not always great for the payouts we get from our streams. But I follow a guy on YouTube, Rick Beato. I've mentioned him quite a few times in this podcast. But here's the great thing about Spotify. Although it might not be great for the artist, what it does do is put that music in front of a whole new generation of people who would never have heard it before. I mean, I remember when the CD started becoming popular, they were re-releasing, Beatles albums and Rolling Stones albums, before which I would have to hunt like mad through record shops or raid my parents' or my friend's parents' record collection.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I could walk into Our Price and get Beatles Abbey Road, which I never would have heard before. So I do believe that the digital revolution have done the bit for that.
Yes,
so that these record collector guys are sort of pioneers of that kind of thing, aren't they? Especially for what it was. So is that available anywhere, streaming the Wellington album?
I think if you look online, it's still. I think it's about £30. It's a vinyl. It's like a limited edition.
I'm going to put a little link to that in the description of this podcast, mate, when I put it out, so that people can go and get it and have a listen, because that'd be amazing.
But I mean, to have. I mean, here's the Ed Sheeran biography by Sean Smith, who I've known now for about 4 or 5 years, we're good friends. We
Yeah.
go bird watching together.
Do you?
You know, he's a Sunday Times
Fantastic.
best-selling author.
Yeah, and you're bird
Sean,
watching too.
and we go walking and bird watching. But you know, if you look at the back, you'll see my name. You know, and there I am featured on page 42 or whatever.
You know exactly
That's
what
enough.
page it is.
That's enough. That's recognition.
It really
for
is.
your art, isn't it?
It really is, yes.
And discretion. I've not sold myself.
No.
You know, because you know there are a lot of people sort of selling out. You know, doing that kind of thing. And
Or have a story
for
to
the
tell,
money.
sell it to the paper.
Yeah.
Bit tacky though, isn't
And I
it,
think a lot
really?
of people are in music now for the money.
Yeah.
You know, they. I mean, I hear people saying, you know, oh, I'm a musician. You know, I'm a guitarist, and they know 2 chords, and you know, they're not guitarists. They're not musicians.
Well, there's a whole thing. I mean,
they're making
Danny
money.
and I play original music, as you know. But when we present it to, we had one record company present it to us. Says you need to get the audience interested in the first 20 seconds. And the first 20 seconds has to hit me, has to really pop, or you've got 2 minutes to do a TikTok video. I mean, really, do I have to? Why can't I play what I like? Why can't I? And if you like it, you can buy it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then don't buy it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, as long as it's good quality, I think, yeah, like you say, if you can't play, or it's full of mistakes, or it's, you know, make your mistakes live, everybody does. But if you just can't play, if you just can't sing, then, you know, don't go home and practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to Martin Booth, who is a luthier, Sudbury way,
Nice.
and he really knows his stuff. You know, I think he's still you know, working.
Yeah.
He designed Martin Taylor's Yamaha
Ooh.
guitar from about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago perhaps.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he has people coming into his workshop and they'll have a guitar, a Les Paul or something, and they'll say to him, you know, would you like to buy this? Because I think he does sometimes sell on.
A little bit of trading, yeah, you might know if
You
people
know.
that wants to buy a guitar.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And he was telling me, so I can't believe how many young people come in, and he said, whereas you and I would sit in a bedroom and we'll be working this stuff out,
yeah.
they almost think, oh, you know, the guitar almost plays itself. You know, you buy an electric guitar, it's going to, you know, it's going to do it for you, sort of
what
thing.
else
and
do
then
you
they
know?
realise it doesn't. And
Well, what other
they sell
skill
it.
do you know that takes 10,000 hours before
Yeah.
you become proficient at it?
Yeah.
And like I say, I've been going over my minor pentatonics because that's all I can sort of get my head around at the moment, and it's all my hands will do. The muscle memory hasn't gone in yet. So I do between half an hour and an hour a day, and I've been doing that solidly since January. But I do remember with the harmonica, it was just hour after hour after hour when I was, because I picked it up when I was 11, and my mum would be stood at the bottom of the stairs screaming, play something else, will ya?
My mum used to stand at the bottom of the stairs and she used to shout up, stop that twanging! And I used to shout down, I'm not twanging! I remember that distinctly.
But you have to do it. I really do. And I don't think that, I don't know whether, I don't want to diss the younger generation. I don't want to diss them and say they can't be bothered. I just think until you get into it, you don't realise.
No.
I think and I think if you told young me at the top of the stairs, or young you at the top of the
Yeah.
stairs, actually, mate, you're going to have to do that for 3 or 4 hours a day for the next 20 years before you even get how you want to play. We'd probably go, yeah, balls for that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But for some reason, the hours flew by. So, I mean,
they do, don't they?
And I think, but as I got a bit better and I discovered what it is I couldn't do, that's when the frustration came in, and I have thrown many a harmonica across the room, you know, or just been so angry that I cannot play this bit despite trying to play it so many times over and over again. But it's kind of what it takes, and I'm really glad I did it. And I must be insane for trying it again now, all over with the guitar, especially at my age.
But I remember when I was, I don't know what, 14 or something, we didn't have central heating. Would you believe? Yes, I am that old. We didn't have central heating, so our bedrooms were bloody freezing. And I used to sit, you know, with my guitar, with a nose, you know, a little drip on the end of my nose because it was so cold in the bedroom.
And burn it for fire or for the wood, you know.
There would be breath, you know, as you breathe out, you know, in the bedrooms. You know, frost on the inside of the window, never mind about the outside. You know, half term in February, it always snowed, you know. Always. And, you know, I'd be in my bedroom, you know, playing guitar, you know, and I'd for hours in the cold, you know.
Yeah. Just for the sake of playing. I mean, I used to live in Yarmouth, and Southtown specifically, and our lessons were in Caister. which is 3-4 miles.
Yeah.
So I used to walk it. If I didn't have a bus fare, walk there for a harmonica lesson, have an hour and a half harmonica lesson, walk back.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes,
or steal a bus fare at my mum's purse. Mum, I'm sorry, I'll pay back.
No, I used to do the same. When I lived in Leicestershire, I used to walk, we were about 5 miles from Leicester, and I used to walk the 5 miles to play with a soul band that I was playing with when I was 17.
Wow.
And of course, you see, we'd rehearse. There would be 8 of us, 8-piece soul band, in a little terraced house in Grasmere Street, which is near where the old Leicester City football ground used to be.
Yeah.
And we would be rehearsing in the front room there, 8-piece soul with saxes and drums and all the rest of it, And of course, invariably, I'd miss the last bus, and I used to have to, walk home.
Yeah, because you're too busy playing the thing. Should play harmonica, it'd be easier to carry than a
that's true. Well, I never saw my guitar because the guitar would always be on the van. I never saw my equipment. I didn't have it when I was at home.
Right.
It would be on the van.
Oh, I see.
That's where everything was like on the van, and then I just have to get to the gigs.
Yeah.
Because
I knew there was a harmonica, but Willie Nelson's harmonica player. I interviewed him, and he said he has a set of harmonica players at home for practicing, and then he's got a set that are on the van that are on the Arctic on the Willie Nelson tour, so that he doesn't see. That someone
absolutely.
just sets them up.
No, that's right. Because I didn't at 17. Obviously, I didn't drive, so we just left the stuff on the van. Amazing. But the police would come knocking, on the door, and they were 7 black guys, all sort of late 20s, and me,
your soul band,
17. Yeah. I was like a kid compared. They were into they were into all sorts of things, which distilling their own,
moonshine.
They used to call it Sammy.
Amazing.
Sammy, yeah.
Great stuff.
And they were into all sorts of things. But they respected that I was, so much younger than them.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of life without actually sort of, getting involved in drugs and things like that.
I do find that music does show you a lot. Like, I wouldn't have travelled after places I had if it wasn't for music, and met so many incredible people. Just like yourself, Pete, just like yourself. So what's I mean, we're getting to the top of the hour, and I could literally, we talked solidly for the minute you walked in the door.
No, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, what's next for you musically then? Have you got another little cruise ship lined up, or have you and Sally doing another album?
I would love to do something like that. I don't know whether we will or not, because I had a bit of a dip earlier this year because I had COVID, and after COVID I felt really quite low. Yeah. And I just thought, it's time to sort of, I think when you retire, I retired about 4 years ago, and you always think a phone's going to ring, something's going to come in.
Gig's going to come up.
Well, it ain't.
Not anymore.
It ain't.
No, in this day and age, it really doesn't. You have to chase. Venues know, people know that musicians.
I'm not out there promoting myself.
Sure.
But I am hankering after it now. I would like to do something, and not necessarily.
Well, I told you I know a double bass player.
Yeah, that'd
and
be
you're
great.
Quite welcome to you. If I can be of any help with a recording facility, mate, please come in here and record whatever you want. But I will put you in touch with that double bass player because it's incredible.
Yeah, because I don't know that many Lowestoft.
We shall change that. We shall change that with this. Keith will put you in touch, and I'm so glad that you are.
I know of the musicians, but I haven't, I haven't met.
Do you get involved with the? Is it Steve Minot and the Lowestoft Jazz Club and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've never done that because I think Steve's a guitarist, and he often has, other guitarists, and it's something we've never we've not got round to doing. Funnily enough, and of course, COVID's.
Yeah,
all
sort of still sort of reeling and resetting from that, aren't we? Yeah, well, I really hope you do, Keith, because from what I've heard, you're absolutely incredible.
I don't know. I'm not a flashy. I like to think that I play what's appropriate.
Though, is it? It's not what music's about. We can't all be Eddie Van Halen. You know, we're not always going to play pyrotechnical riffs and stuff like that. But as a musician of experience, I can tell that what you're playing is I think note choice is something that they don't teach you.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I think it's something that
not
many musicians have good note choice. I hear it, and I heard it with you, and I've heard it with a couple of others. There's a guy play guitarist over Galston called Zach, who plays a band called Gehenna right now, and his note choice, it just picks a note at the end of a solo, and you go, I wouldn't have ended there.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Why did he choose that note? That's gorgeous. Or segue into a key change or something like that with a run that's just like so unusual.
Yeah.
And we go, there it is.
There's a tune, a song I can't think. It's an Eagles tune. I can't think what the title is right now. But there's just a little a little guitar lick, and it's just perfection.
Just enough
it's
to
not
take
a
it
solo,
into the next bit.
It's just a little bit that, and I always listen for that
Yeah.
when that song comes on. Oh, is that song? And I listen for that little
I like
three notes.
like
on the guitar.
lying eyes. The city girl, and just they have those little bits that don't interrupt. Because there's so many people I know and know, especially in the blues, especially in harmonicas, who will just play all over the vocal, play all over the melody, overplay.
Yeah,
and there's just a little touch there that you can do. It's just enough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's that
There's a fine
holding
line.
back.
Yes.
I've got a little project which I'm doing tomorrow actually, which is with poetry. So I'm doing a little thing with poetry.
So what, are you playing some guitar behind some spoken
that's
word?
right. Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful.
So I've sort of composed, if you like,
Yeah.
the pieces to accompany that.
Amazing.
And I'm going to play something in between, a little solo piece in between as well. And
Well, can I mean, this
looking
is
forward to
really
that.
cheeky, and please tell me to bugger off if but I'll never ask anyone. We'll never play music on these podcasts. But I'm very tempted to ask you to play a little tiny bit on my guitar there to close the show.
I think if I'd have brought my
No worries. That's
nylon
fine.
strum,
Fair enough.
I probably would have. Yeah,
Probably would have done, but no, I get it. That's a low grade, and with electric strings on it probably as well. Mate, yeah, that's fair enough. No, but lovely. Still, thank you so much for coming over, Keith. It's been absolutely amazing, and I really hope to see you again soon, buddy. But we're going to call it there. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks,
Cheers,
Paul.
mate.